Welcome back, Myco listeners, to another sportacular journey through the vast and thriving Myco-Verse. You already know what it is. This is the TMN-Podcast, where we bring you the latest, the greatest, and the most mind-expanding fungal knowledge, all wrapped up in resonating bass and mycelial vibrations. Today's episode is packed. We've got some Myco-Deep-Dives that are going to blow your minds and, of course, the hottest fungal music vibes curated straight from the cosmic spores of the Myco-Verse. But first, let's dive into TMN news and updates because things are moving fast. The Mushroom Network is about to drop a wave of new, vibey, ultra-artistic music videos that will submerge you into the world of fungi like never before. We're also kicking off a brand new Myco mini-series called Fungal Reflections, short, insightful fungal journeys that will be featured across YouTube Shorts and our social media platforms. And let's talk about expansion. Not just in mycelial terms, but in the way TMN continues to grow both technologically and spiritually. We're shaping something massive with the future of this network, and the next chapter is going to be cosmic. Speaking of cosmic, there's a very special creative project we've been itching to share with you. Picture this: a tiny green bioluminescent mushroom navigating the vastness of the Myco-Verse, trying to make a difference in its own little neck of the cosmic woods, connecting and expanding the grand cosmic mycelial network. This series will blend real-world footage, drone cinematography, and in-person foraging adventures with an immersive fungal cosmos, much like what we've explored in Fungal Frontiers and beyond. So, Myco listeners, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us everywhere you can, because this year we are pushing the boundaries of Myco entertainment in every possible way. All right, enough hype. Let's get into it. Because today, Myco and Mira are diving deep into two of the most pressing and mind-expanding topics in the fungal world. First up, we're diving into the ongoing war against fungi content online. Social media platforms, especially Facebook and Meta, have been on a rampage against Mycology, using AI-driven censorship to wipe out entire communities, ban educational discussions, and silence researchers and enthusiasts alike. If you've ever had a post flagged for simply talking about mushrooms, yeah, you're not alone. Myco and Mira are going to break down how this is happening, why it's targeting fungi lovers specifically, and what it means for the future of sharing mycological knowledge online. And most importantly, how TMN-Social is being built as a refuge for mycophiles to connect without fear of the algorithm erasing them. Then, we shift from suppression to innovation, because while some are trying to shut down the fungi community, others are working to revolutionize it. Enter Hypha Labs and their groundbreaking MicroPearls technology, an AI-assisted high-yield home cultivation system that is completely flipping the script on mushroom growing. Imagine growing over 300 grams of functional mushrooms in just 8 days, without complicated setups, contamination risks, or months of waiting. Myco and Mira are going to break down how this technology works, why it's shaking up the functional mushroom industry, and whether the supplement giants are prepared for this level of myco disruption. From digital crackdowns to high-tech breakthroughs, today's episode is packed with everything you need to know about the future of fungi, so get ready, because it's time to dive in. Myco, Mira, take us away now.
All right, Myco listeners, welcome back to another Myco Deep Dive with us here at the Mushroom Network. We've got a super interesting one for you today. A little bit wild, a little bit out there, but you guys know you love to stay informed. You like to keep your fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the mycology world and the psychedelic space. So we're calling this one Spores and Shadows, the battle for mycology's future. It feels like we've got some pretty big changes happening in two key areas right now, and we want to dive into those with you today. First up, the unexpected censorship that's hitting online mycology communities.
Yeah.
And second, the crazy legal stuff that's going on with psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah, it really feels like, things are at a tipping point. On the one hand, there's this huge surge of interest, scientifically, culturally, around the potential fungi and, psilocybin specifically. Well, like you said, there are some real roadblocks.
Yeah.
Both in the digital world and then also just in the legal, kind of reform process.
So let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about what's been happening online. I feel like those of us who are interested in fungi, we've kind of stumbled into this weird digital twilight zone. We're talking about Facebook, right, or Meta, and their AI content moderation. And it just seems to have gotten really aggressive towards anything even remotely related to mycology or psychedelic discussion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you might expect, stricter moderation around psilocybin, right?
Yeah, sure.
But we're seeing reports that even groups focusing on completely legal non-psychoactive mushrooms, so you're talking lion's mane,
right,
cordyceps,
right,
reishi, like they're getting caught up in it too. It's like this really wide net.
It is.
Makes you kind of question, what's going on behind the scenes with the algorithms.
It really does. It's almost unbelievable. Like, we're seeing completely legitimate education groups getting flagged or even banned for talking about fungi. And sometimes it seems like all it takes is just mentioning the word spore, cultivation, even mycology. And, and these are like scientific contexts, like academic contexts. It's like, oh, we see a keyword, gone, account suspended.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, right?
Yeah.
Like, how effective, how unbiased are these AI moderation systems?
Yeah.
Because the goal, I think, is to prevent illegal activity.
Yeah.
But like you said, people who are genuinely trying to educate and share their passion are being silenced.
Yeah.
And there are consistent reports of actual misinformation and harmful content still slipping through the cracks.
It's the irony of it all that gets me.
Yeah.
You have researchers trying to share information about cognitive benefits of lion's mane, and their posts are getting taken down, but the platform is flooded with dubious health claims,
right,
and all sorts of weird scams. And it's not even just like the content of the post. We're seeing this weird, guilt by association kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty concerning, right? Some of the reports are that people are getting penalized for sharing articles that discuss, the growing scientific support for psilocybin therapy.
Right.
Or even for joining online communities that are dedicated to something as simple as identifying edible mushrooms.
Right.
It's a really broad stroke.
Yeah.
And frankly, not a very nuanced approach to how content is being policed.
And it's gotten to the point where I've even seen this, like, people are having trouble sharing pictures of wild mushrooms. Like, they foraged.
Yeah.
Like, is every picture of a morel, it's some kind of like secret message? It just seems totally absurd. And then, to compare that to, you look at how other industries are treated on these platforms.
Yeah.
And the discrepancies are pretty obvious.
I think that's a really interesting point. If you zoom out a little bit, you see well-established corporate-sponsored pages for like cannabis products, pharmaceutical companies, alcohol brands. They're all thriving on these platforms without this level of scrutiny.
Right.
So it definitely makes you wonder about potential biases in how these moderation policies are being implemented.
So what's a fun guy to do? What is a fun guy supposed to do? Well, I am so excited to share this because the Mushroom Network, we are so proud of this. We are developing our own social media platform. It's called TMN-Social, and it is being built specifically for mushroom enthusiasts, mycologists, psychedelic advocates.
And I think what's really significant here is that this is a direct response to, the stifling of knowledge and community.
Yeah.
It's not just about creating an alternative space.
Right.
It's really about actively countering censorship that's preventing education and legitimate discussion.
Yeah.
And I think the focus on human moderation, rather than just relying on AI, which we've seen can be really flawed.
Yeah.
It's a really critical element.
It's huge. It's like we're trying to create a platform that is completely free from the kind of AI censorship that we're seeing on other social media platforms. We're going to have real human moderators. They're going to be guided by clear, fact-based content guidelines. And it's going to be a place where scientists, foragers, educators, anyone who wants to talk about fungi, can do so without having to constantly worry about their content being taken down. Now, we do, of course, we want to allow responsible discussions about psilocybin, about other substances known as entheogens, so substances that induce altered states of consciousness, often in spiritual contexts. However, we also want to be clear, TMN-Social, zero tolerance for illegal drug sales or the spread of misinformation. We're building a community that's ethical and balanced. Yeah. This isn't just about sharing your cool mushroom pictures. It's about protecting knowledge and promoting genuine education within our community.
Yeah, and I think it really highlights for people that this kind of censorship is more than just a minor inconvenience. It really impacts our collective ability to learn,
to
share crucial scientific findings. and to build these really supportive communities.
Yeah.
So, a dedicated platform like TMN-Social, I think, feels really necessary and proactive in this digital environment that we're in. All right, we've said enough about tech giants playing gatekeeper. Let's take a breather. It's time for a Myco break.
Yeah, cool off stretch. Maybe check your grow. If Zucky's AI or Meta's lovely algorithm hasn't flagged it yet. And by yet, we mean it's only a matter of time. Could be a day, a month, or even a year before they decide it's a problem.
Alrighty then, Mira. Well, Myco listeners, when we come back, we're diving into a breakthrough that's flipping home mushroom cultivation on its head.
Yes, I am so excited about the next part. AI-assisted high-yield fungi, Hypha Labs just changed the game. Stick around.
Calling all mycology enthusiasts, dive into TMN-Social, the ultimate online hub for everything fungi. Connect with fellow mushroom lovers, share your myco adventures, and explore a thriving community dedicated to education, cultivation, and the wonders of mycology with exciting updates on the way. TMN-Social is evolving to offer you an even better platform to learn, grow, and engage. Whether you're a seasoned mycologist or just starting your journey, there's a place for you here. Join the myco-community revolution today because the best networks are built on Mycelia. Visit now themushroomnetworks.com. Again, that is the Mushroom Networks with an S.com. It's fun, it's free, and it's all about mycology.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. We talked about the digital world. Let's talk about what's happening in the physical world, because things are just as interesting, although in a very different way. We're talking about Operation Smoke Signals. This took place in Florida back in March of this year, 2025. Now with a name like Operation Smoke Signals, you'd think we'd be talking about vaping.
Yeah, you would.
Well, for the most part we are. But this one, had a pretty wild psychedelic turn.
Yeah, this is a really interesting case study, I think, because it really shows you how these different threads, around mycology and psychedelics, they kind of intersect in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
So you have this crackdown on one type of illicit product that inadvertently sheds light on this other growing issue.
Yeah.
This unregulated market for psilocybin.
Right. So this operation was mostly focused on stopping the illegal sale of vape products to minors.
Right.
Which led to, I think, something like 20 different vape shops and a bunch of arrests.
Right.
But here's the thing. In one of these shops, alongside the nicotine and THC vapes, they found a vendor who was also selling psilocybin mushroom-infused products.
Yeah.
And we're not talking like a couple dried mushrooms in a baggie.
I think the details of what they found are really telling in terms of kind of the state of this market. The report lists a whole bunch of different types of psilocybin-containing products. Raw mushrooms, chocolate bars, gummies, extracts. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a more kind of organized and kind of diverse market than you might imagine. They found 140 grams of raw psilocybin mushrooms, 36 chocolate bars, 7 packets of gummies, 2 containers of syrup, 6 tabs, and a magical extract. Like, what is in that?
Yeah.
So we're seeing this huge trend of mushroom edibles, things like diamond shroom spores,
Right.
which are marketed as these innocent wellness supplements or novelty treats.
Yeah.
But, their ingredients contained a Schedule Level 1 drug, according to federal law.
And I think that brings up this really important point about, consumer awareness.
Right.
And the potential for, accidental ingestion.
Right.
Because these products are designed to look appealing and harmless.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, individuals, maybe even children, could be unknowingly consuming psilocybin.
Right.
Yeah.
And, this is on top of the inherent dangers that come with buying from this completely unregulated underground market.
Right. So first of all, legality is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live, buying or selling these products, it's illegal.
Yeah. It comes with some pretty serious consequences. But beyond that, there's this real risk of you just don't know what you're getting.
That's right. Without any regulatory oversight, there's absolutely no guarantee about what's in these products, the quality.
Yeah.
They could be mislabeled. They could contain completely different, potentially toxic species of fungi.
Right.
Synthetic compounds designed to mimic the effects of psilocybin.
Right.
Or even dangerous additives.
Yeah.
So it's like, as we've talked about before on the show, this whole rise of counterfeit psychedelic edibles is a real concern. And I think this case in Florida really brings it home.
It does.
You're putting your health at risk.
Yeah.
Potentially even your life for a product you bought in a vape shop.
Yeah, it's a scary thought. So let's talk about some of the good stuff that's happening. Some of the states that are moving in a completely different direction when it comes to psilocybin. It's pretty fascinating. We've got this whole patchwork of different legal approaches emerging. So let's start with Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's really interesting. I think they've made a really significant leap. They've become the first state to actually have these regulated psychedelic healing centers.
Right.
This came about after Proposition 122 was passed back in November of 2022.
Yeah.
And it was a really groundbreaking move because it essentially decriminalized personal use and possession and then created this framework for licensed therapeutic access to some of these natural psychedelics.
And this isn't just words on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
As of early 2025, Colorado is actually issuing licenses for these centers. And we're expecting the first legal mushroom retreats to be open, late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
So what's happening?
It's really exciting. It's a huge development.
It is. It's important for us to be clear, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
About what's happening in Colorado. Recreational sales are still prohibited. You can't just go into a store and buy psilocybin the way you might buy cannabis.
Right.
In some states. So it's really focused on the supervised use within these licensed centers with guidance from trained professionals.
Right.
So the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, they're overseeing the whole thing, making sure everything is safe.
Yeah.
And, it's responsibly facilitated.
Absolutely.
And it's not just psilocybin, right? So the legalization also extends to other naturally occurring psychedelics. So things like DMT,
right,
mescaline, with the specific exclusion for peyote, I think because of cultural significance, and ibogaine.
Yeah.
And they're planning to integrate those substances into the system, by 2026. So it's a pretty comprehensive approach.
It is.
That they've taken.
Yeah. And I think while it's a really pioneering development, it's also important people to understand that there are still potential limitations and risks,
Sure.
because without this retail market, it means that access is still controlled.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact that psilocybin remains federally illegal, that casts a shadow over everything.
Yeah.
And then you have to consider, potentially the cost of these supervised therapy sessions could be quite high.
Yeah.
Which might limit access for some people.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move up north. Let's go to Minnesota. They're kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, they are.
A little bit different approach. They're really focusing on research and the potential for decriminalization.
Yeah, so Minnesota established the Psychedelic Medicine Task Force back in 2023.
Right.
And they released their final report at the beginning of this year, January 2025. And their main recommendation was huge.
Yeah.
They are advocating for the decriminalization of psilocybin mushrooms and for the creation of state-regulated clinical programs.
Right. And their reasoning seems to be pretty heavily rooted in this, body of evidence that's coming out, all this scientific evidence about potential health benefits, especially for things like PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, and end-of-life anxiety. So the science seems to be really driving their policy decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so now, the current legislature in Minnesota is reviewing these recommendations. And there is a real chance that some form of decriminalization could pass this year.
Wow.
2025. And if this were to happen, we'd probably see Minnesota follow a model similar to Oregon or Colorado.
Right.
Where they emphasize this supervised use in therapeutic settings.
Right.
Rather than just full-on retail.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about what's driving this, in Minnesota. Why are they taking this approach?
Well, I think there are a couple of factors. Recent polls suggest that there's growing support among the public for exploring psychedelic therapies.
Okay.
You also see increasing bipartisan interest, among lawmakers in looking at alternative approaches to mental health treatment.
Right.
And Minnesota also has a history of progressive drug policy. They legalized cannabis pretty early on.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think there's a real possibility here. But of course, just like in Colorado, federal prohibition is still a big,
Sure.
point of caution.
Yeah. So let's head over to the West Coast. Let's talk about California, because they've been trying to get something going for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, California has been a hub, for drug policy reform for decades.
Yeah.
But their efforts to legalize psilocybin-assisted therapy have really hit some roadblocks.
Yeah.
Legislatively.
Right.
But, the advocates are back at it in 2025.
Yeah.
With renewed, passion, trying to get some meaningful legislation passed.
What is it about California? What's the argument for California taking such a leading role in this?
I think, the central argument is that California has always been a pioneer, in alternative medicine,
Right.
progressive drug policy reform.
Yeah.
So advocates believe that if any state can do this, it's California.
Right.
They've got the infrastructure,
Yeah.
renowned research institutions,
Yeah.
a huge population that's generally, supportive of drug policy reform.
Yeah, it hasn't been an easy road though, right? Like, what are some of the obstacles they've faced?
I think, there's been some division within the state legislature itself.
Yeah.
Concerns about public safety,
Okay.
potential for misuse,
Right.
and then there's this perceived lack of, extensive long-term data. And then, as we've talked about, that federal Schedule I classification.
Right.
That's a huge legal uncertainty
Yeah.
for any state trying to create a legal framework.
Yeah.
But if California could actually pull this off, legalize psilocybin-assisted therapy,
Yeah.
it would be huge
It would be huge.
for the national conversation.
Yeah.
Potentially even putting pressure on the federal government to reevaluate its stance.
So let's talk about the federal government. We've got all this stuff happening at the state level, but federally, where do things stand with psilocybin right now?
Federally speaking, psilocybin is still a Scheduled I drug under the Controlled Substances Act, which means, the government views it as having no accepted medical use and high potential for abuse. So despite, all this growing evidence
Right.
suggesting therapeutic benefits,
Yeah.
the DEA has really resisted, rescheduling.
Yeah, and it seems like, federal enforcement is actually on the rise.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We've seen a pretty dramatic increase in federal law enforcement seizures of psilocybin mushrooms over the past, several years.
Yeah.
From, just over 400 in 2017
Right.
to almost 1,400 in 2022.
Wow.
So that really emphasizes that, there's still this federal prohibition.
Yeah.
And there are real legal risks, even in states with more progressive policies.
Okay, but it's not all bad news federally, right? Like, haven't there been some indications that things might be shifting a little?
Yeah, the FDA has granted breakthrough therapy designation to some psilocybin-based treatments for specific mental health conditions.
Right.
So, that suggests that there's a growing recognition
Yeah.
within federal regulatory bodies of psilocybin's potential medical value.
Right.
And it could speed up, the development and review of those therapies.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have some bipartisan bills in Congress,
Mm-hmm.
that are aimed at doing more research
Yeah.
into the potential of psychedelics. But I think we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Full federal legalization of psilocybin is probably still a ways off.
So what does this all mean? What's the big picture here for the legal landscape of psilocybin?
I think what we're seeing is this increasingly complex picture across the U.S.
Yeah.
You have states like Colorado and Oregon moving forward with regulated access.
Right.
Then you have Minnesota, California, actively looking at decriminalization and potential medical legalization.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you have states like Florida and Texas,
Right.
where they're still really against any type of legalization, and they're enforcing strict prohibition. So it's a really mixed bag.
So we're in a legal gray area when it comes to psilocybin.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the future of its legal status really depends on what happens politically, both at the state level and federally. And then, of course, continued scientific progress.
Yeah.
And understanding of psilocybin. So it's constantly evolving.
It's definitely a dynamic situation. So as we start to wrap things up here, it's clear that, the world of fungi and psychedelics is facing these challenges.
Yeah.
It's undergoing some really rapid changes. We're talking about online censorship and then what's happening in the legal world. And then, we've got these underground markets popping up.
Yeah, and I think Operation Smoke Signals was a really, stark reminder about the potential risks. You have states taking steps towards this regulated access, but then you have these unregulated products that just highlight the dangers, of buying from these underground markets.
It really is. So, Myco listeners, we cannot emphasize enough, you need to be informed about the laws regarding psilocybin, where you live. Like, really, ignorance is not bliss in this situation.
And we can't stress enough how important it is to be cautious. Avoid buying psilocybin from unregulated sources.
Yeah.
The risk is just too high. You could get something that's been adulterated or mislabeled, or it could even be toxic. You have to put your health and safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay informed, Myco listeners. Things are changing quickly. We at the Mushroom Network, we're going to do our best to keep you updated. And, here's a final thought for you. We were talking about what happened in Florida. Think about this. Would you really risk your safety and maybe even your freedom for some mystery mushroom chocolate bar that you found at a vape shop?
Something to really think about.
It is.
Yeah.
So as always, the Mushroom Network will be here. We'll be following all of this.
Yeah.
We'll bring you more Myco deep dives into this wild world of fungi,
The ever-evolving world
psychedelics,
of mycology.
mental health research.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for exploring these, spory and shadowy areas.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Are you tired of the same 3 corporations controlling all the music you hear?
Yeah, so were we. So we said spore it and made our own. Welcome to TMN Radio, where we've infected the airwaves with fungi-powered frequencies. We got underground bangers, Myco-Deep-Dives, and cosmic beats big box media is too scared to touch. 24/7. No ads, except this one. And, well, these are actually technically called myco breaks. So inhale some mycelium-infused air, embrace your inner tree hugger, and get ready for some mind-blowing mycomania. The Mushroom Network has spoken. You've been chosen.
Tune in, the hottest growing underground network around.
TMN Radio. It's alive.
All right, Myco listeners, welcome back to the Mushroom Network for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And, today we're going to be talking about something that I know a lot of you have been really excited to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that we've been getting a lot of questions about.
for sure.
And we're calling this deep dive Beyond the Grow Kit, the rise of AI-assisted home mycology.
That's a catchy one.
Yeah, so we're going to be diving into really the cutting edge of home mushroom growing.
Absolutely.
And looking specifically at how artificial intelligence is impacting the way we grow our own functional fungi at home.
That's right. We're going to talk about how you can grow some incredible mushrooms at home
Exactly.
with less effort
Yeah, and I think
fewer headaches.
a lot of us, we've dabbled in home mushrooms growing,
Absolutely.
and there are certain frustrations that kind of come with that territory.
For sure.
Contamination is a huge one. Maintaining the right humidity levels.
Yeah.
Temperature fluctuation.
It's a delicate dance.
All these things can really affect your yields and affect the success of your grow.
Right. So it's all about creating that perfect environment for your mushrooms to thrive.
Yeah, and that can be really challenging
It can be.
to do consistently at home, especially
When you're dealing with the limitations of traditional grow setups.
exactly.
Those grow kits, they're great for beginners,
Yeah, they're a great entry point.
right? They get your feet wet, but they do have their limitations.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the monotubs, which give you more control, but they also require a lot more knowledge,
Yeah, a lot more hands-on.
a lot more vigilance.
Attention.
Yeah. And even then, you're not immune to the pitfalls.
No, absolutely.
Contamination can still happen. Environmental conditions can fluctuate.
Yeah. And it can be really discouraging
Yeah.
when you put in all that work. And then, you don't get the results you were hoping for.
Exactly. It's like watching your hopes and dreams turn green with mold.
And it can be a lot of work.
It can be.
You're constantly misting, you're fanning,
Yeah, you're checking temperatures,
temperature,
humidity levels,
adjusting things.
making sure there's enough fresh air exchange.
Constantly.
It's like having a newborn baby that needs constant care,
Yeah. But
but without the cute gurgle.
what if there was a way?
Right. What if there was a way to take some of that burden off your shoulders?
Exactly.
That's where AI comes in.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Right.
How is AI changing the landscape of home mushroom growing?
Well, it's doing it in a few key ways. First and foremost, it's taking over a lot of that manual labor.
Yeah, the stuff that we were just talking about.
Exactly.
The constant monitoring.
The tweaking.
The adjusting.
Yeah, it's like having a personal mushroom growing assistant.
That never sleeps.
Never sleeps, doesn't complain,
It doesn't need a break.
and never forgets to mist.
Exactly.
So how does it actually work, you might be asking?
Yeah.
Well, these AI-powered systems, they typically involve sensors
Okay.
that constantly monitor the growing environment.
Right. So they're measuring things like temperature,
Temperature, exactly.
humidity,
Humidity, light levels,
CO2.
CO2 even.
Wow.
And all of that data gets fed into a central processing unit,
Okay.
which is basically the brain of the operation.
Right.
And that brain uses sophisticated algorithms to analyze the data
Okay.
and then make adjustments as needed,
So it's constantly learning and adapting
to the specific needs of your mushrooms.
to create that ideal environment.
Exactly. So it's making those tiny adjustments that we as humans might miss or might not have the time to do.
That's fascinating.
It is.
So this is a real game changer for people who want to grow mushrooms at home.
It is a game changer, especially for those who might have been intimidated by the complexity of traditional methods.
Absolutely.
Or maybe they just don't have the time or the patience for all that manual labor.
Yeah, it really takes the guesswork out of it.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
It minimizes
It
time.
minimizes the risk and it maximizes your chances of success.
So you mentioned something that I think is really key.
Okay.
You said it minimizes the risk
Yes.
and maximizes your chances of success.
Exactly.
Now let's unpack that a little bit. What are some of the specific ways that AI is reducing the risk
Okay.
in home mushroom growing?
One of the biggest risks, as we've already alluded to, is contamination. It's the bane of every mushroom grower's existence.
Absolutely.
You put in all that time and effort,
Yeah.
and then boom, mold takes over.
That's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking it is.
Yeah.
But AI can help to mitigate that risk significantly
Okay.
by precisely controlling the growing environment. AI systems can create conditions that are less hospitable to contaminants.
Right. So they are making sure the humidity is just right?
Well, that and the temperature, the airflow,
The airflow.
all of those factors play a role in preventing contamination.
Okay, so it's not just about
It's not just about creating a sterile environment.
right.
It's about creating an environment that favors the growth of your mushrooms
Okay.
and discourages the growth of anything else.
So it's like,
It's like giving your mushrooms a competitive advantage.
right.
They're the star athletes in this controlled environment.
They get all the resources they need.
Exactly. And the contaminants are left struggling to survive.
Interesting.
It's a beautiful thing.
So that's one way that AI is reducing risk.
Yes.
What are some other ways?
Well, another way is by ensuring consistent yields with traditional methods.
Yeah.
There's always a bit of a gamble involved.
Right. You never know quite what you're going to get.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have a bumper crop. Yeah.
Sometimes you get a few measly mushrooms,
Yeah.
but AI can help to stabilize those yields
Okay.
by optimizing the growing conditions throughout the entire cycle.
So it's not just about,
It's not just about preventing disaster.
right.
It's about maximizing output.
Okay, so it's really like fine-tuning
Fine-tuning exactly
the entire process.
to ensure that you're getting the best possible results.
And what about the quality?
Ah, yes.
Or
Cold.
with mushrooms themselves?
This is another area where AI can make a big difference. So the potency and the bioavailability of functional mushrooms.
Yeah.
These are crucial factors for anyone who's using them for their medicinal properties.
Right, because we're talking about mushrooms like
We're talking about mushrooms like lion's mane, reishi cordyceps,
turkey tail.
turkey tail chaga,
Yeah, all these
incredible mushrooms
incredible fungi.
that offer a wide range of potential health benefits.
Right.
But those benefits, they depend on the presence of certain bioactive compounds. And the levels of those compounds,
Yeah.
they can vary depending on the growing conditions.
Okay.
So that's where AI comes in again.
Okay.
By precisely controlling the environment, AI systems can optimize the production of those beneficial compounds,
So you're potentially getting,
potentially getting more bang for your buck,
yeah,
more medicinal power per mushroom.
that's amazing.
It's like getting a software upgrade for your mushrooms.
So it's not just about the quantity,
It's not just about the quantity.
it's about the quality too.
It's about the quality and the potency,
Really
maximizing the benefits that you're getting from these incredible organisms.
This is really exciting stuff.
It is.
Now, before we go any further,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a short myco break before diving even deeper into this fascinating myco deep dive.
Stay tuned, Myco listeners. We'll be right back after this Myco break.
You have traveled beyond the veil. The visions came to you in waves, whispers of the mycelial network, the light, the lessons, the unknown. But now You seek understanding. You seek integration. At TMN Radio, we hold space for your journey. Psychedelic Integration Hour, where your Myco experience matters. Share your visions, your questions, and the transformation that follows. Join the mycelial movement and share your journey with us. Visit the Mushroom Network at themushroomnetwork.com/tips, and your story might just bloom into our next integration journey. Namaste, and may your fungi flourish. TMN Radio, a sanctuary for the soul's expansion.
The light is here. The network is open. Are you ready to connect?
I want to touch on a specific company
Okay.
that's been making waves in this space.
All right.
And that's Hypha Labs.
Yes. Hypha Labs.
And they're the creators of the MicroPearls technology.
MicroPearls, that's the one everyone's talking about.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Hypha Labs and MicroPearls.
So Hypha Labs is a company that's really pushing the boundaries of mycology. They're combining cutting-edge technology with deep expertise in mushroom cultivation.
Okay.
And the result is this really remarkable system that's making it easier than ever before to grow high-quality functional mushrooms at home.
And the MicroPearls technology is at the heart of that.
It is at the heart of it.
So can you explain a little bit about
Yeah.
how MicroPearls actually works?
So essentially it involves these tiny little spheres called mycopearls,
Hence the name.
hence the name, and these mycopearls. They're basically like miniature ecosystems for mushroom mycelium.
Right, so the mycelium is the...
The mycelium is the vegetative part of the mushroom. It's the network of threads that spread through the substrate. And the mycopearls. They provide the perfect environment for the mycelium to grow and thrive.
And they're all self-contained within these tiny little spheres.
Tiny little spheres.
That's fascinating.
It is. And these mycopearls are then placed inside the MicroPearl accelerator. Which is this compact device that controls all of the environmental parameters.
Right, so we're talking about
temperature,
humidity,
airflow,
CO2.
Everything that the mushrooms need to grow.
And it's all automated.
It's all automated thanks to AI.
So you basically just set it and forget it.
Pretty much.
Wow.
You just need to add water occasionally.
And
harvest your mushrooms when they're ready.
And how long does it typically take?
Well, this is one of the most impressive things about the MicroPearl system. A typical grow cycle from start to finish takes only about 8 days.
8 days?
8 days.
That's incredibly fast.
It is incredibly fast compared to traditional methods, which can take weeks or even months.
And we're talking about a substantial yield, too.
We are.
Right.
The MicroPearl accelerator can produce over 300 grams of fresh mushrooms.
In 8 days?
In 8 days.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So we're talking about
a significant amount of mushrooms.
that
you can grow in a very short amount of time.
And with minimal effort. Yeah. I mean, this is really...
It's a game changer.
A game changer for home mushroom growing.
It is.
Really is.
It's democratizing access to these incredible organisms.
Yeah, it's making it possible.
It is for anyone to grow their own functional mushrooms.
Right in their own home.
Right in their own home without needing a lot of space.
Yeah.
Without needing a lot of specialized knowledge.
And without having to worry about...
contamination or inconsistent yield.
That's amazing.
It is. So let's talk a little bit about the impact that this technology is having. On the wider mushroom industry.
All right, so the wider industry, this technology is definitely shaking things up a bit.
Because it's offering a really compelling alternative to traditional cultivation methods.
So we're talking about the big commercial growers.
We are.
They're having to take notice.
They are.
Because this is something
they have to adapt.
That could potentially disrupt their entire business model.
Potentially, yes.
Because if people can grow their own mushrooms at home easily and affordably,
and they're getting high quality mushrooms, then why would they necessarily go to a commercial grower?
That's a great point.
Unless, of course, those commercial growers are offering something unique.
Right. So it's forcing them to
innovate. To find ways to stay competitive.
Yeah. And that could be a good thing.
It could be a very good thing for consumers.
Right, because it could lead to
lower prices. Higher quality,
more variety.
More variety, exactly.
So this is really a win-win.
It's a win-win.
For everybody involved.
A home grower. For the industry.
And for the mushrooms themselves. Yeah, I mean,
they're getting more love than ever before.
They're getting the royal treatment.
Exactly.
So before we wrap things up, I want to make sure that our Myco listeners know how they can learn more about this technology.
Yeah.
And potentially even get their hands on a MicroPearls system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as we mentioned earlier, Hypha Labs is planning a national rollout of the MicroPearls system in late 2025, early 2026.
All right, so not too far off. And they're also exploring partnerships.
They are.
With various retailers and distributors.
Exactly. So you'll likely be seeing these systems popping up in more and more places.
And of course,
the Mushroom Network.
We will keep you updated.
We'll be following all the latest developments.
Absolutely.
And keeping you informed.
You'll be the first to know.
So make sure you stay tuned.
Stay tuned to our website, our social media channels, and our newsletter.
All the things.
So
you don't miss out.
So, Myco listeners, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But I think the main takeaway here is that AI is revolutionizing.
It is.
Home mushroom growing.
It's making it more accessible.
Yeah.
More efficient and more reliable than ever before.
And it's opening up.
A
whole new world of possibilities.
A whole new world.
For exploring the incredible benefits.
Exactly.
Of functional fungi.
So if you've ever been curious about growing your own mushrooms,
now is the time.
To
dive in. Because with the help of AI,
you don't have to be an expert.
You can achieve amazing results. Right in your own home. So as always, Myco listeners, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Right.
And today's food for thought is this.
Okay.
How do you think this technology, the rise of AI-assisted home mycology, how do you think it will change?
How will it change?
The way we interact with mushrooms in the future.
Big question.
Will we see a shift from relying on... commercial growers?
To more of a DIY approach.
To a more decentralized, self-sufficient model.
Yeah. And how will that impact... The availability.
The affordability. The quality of functional mushrooms.
Yeah. And even the way we think about.
Yeah. How will it impact our relationship with these organisms?
Yeah. Our relationship.
Our understanding of their potential.
With these fascinating organisms.
Big questions.
Yeah. Big questions.
Big questions for our Myco listeners. Ponder that.
Myco listeners.
And let us know your thoughts.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
In the comments below on our social media channels.
Our website.
Wherever you like to connect with us.
So until next time.
Keep exploring the fascinating fungal kingdom.
Happy growing.
And may your harvest be bountiful.
Bountiful indeed.
We'll see you soon. Myco listeners.
All right, Myco listeners. We've just taken a deep dive into two of the most game-changing topics in the mycosphere: censorship versus fungi freedom and the future of AI-assisted home cultivation. If that didn't get your spores tingling, I don't know what will. But now, it's time to shift gears and let the vibrations take over. Because you know we wouldn't leave you without some of the freshest, deepest, most resonating fungal beats. So sit back, turn the volume up, and let the Myco-Verse frequencies flow through you. This is the Fungal Music Vibes segment, and we've got something truly special lined up for you.
voice like a flowing stream. Footsteps echo where the fires burn. The rhythm calls, it's time to return.
Roots entwine in the neon glow. Chants arise where the storm winds blow. Hands on the earth, let the pulse ignite. Drums crack sharp in the velvet night.
Feel the rhythm pull you deep. Bassline heavy, drums don't sleep. Flames flicker in the glowing mist, echoing loud through the myco twist. Clavender roars where the spirits tread. Drums strike hard like a hunter's dread. Bass rolls deep through the tangle vines. Didgeridoo hums in electric lines. Chants break free from the hollow caves. Winds how high as the echoes wave. Stomp fast in the sacred ring. Fungal roots make the rhythm sing. To the fire, watch the shadows dance. Drum beat heavy like a warrior stance. Mushroom tower stretch to the sky. Bassline lifts as the spirits fly. Spore winds rush through the glowing sand. Drums resound like a guiding hand. Didgeridoo moans through the cavern's chest. Bassline moves in a sacred quest. Thunder roars where the spirits tread. Drums strike hard like a hunter's dread. Bass rolls deep through the tangled vines. Didgeridoo hums in electric lines. Chants break free from the hollow caves. Winds how high as the echoes wave. Stomp fast in the sacred ring. Fungal roots make the rhythm sing. Go through the hollow and do the whole thing. Fungal roots make the rhythm sing. Echoes of the hollow drum. Echoes of the hollow drum. Thunder roars where the spirits tread. Drums strike hard like a hunter's dread. Bass rolls deep through the tangled vines. Didgeridoo hums in electric lines. Chants break free from the hollow caves. Winds how high as the echoes wave. Turn fast in the sacred ring. Fungal roots make the rhythm sing. The spores return where the echoes fade. Bassline hums in the roots it laid. The fire dims but the song remains, lost in whispers of ancient names.
Like a sacred sign. Spore clouds drift where the night winds bend. Drums crack loud as the spirits descend. Deep in the hollow where the roots entwine. The bassline trembles like a sacred sign. Spore clouds drift where the night winds bend. Drums crack loud as the spirits descend. Stomp on the ground, feel the tremor rise. The glowing spores dance under ancient skies. Fungal towels hum in the embers glow. Bass shakes dust from the caves below. Drums hit sharp like a meteor's fall. Didgeridoo wails like a cosmic call. Mushroom spirits chant through the trees. Bass so thick, it bends the seas. Kaboom, kaboom, let the ground cave in. Thunder in the bass, let the rites begin. Feel the pulse through the myco stream. Echoes shake through the fungal dream. Kaboom, kaboom, let the fire rise. Shadows twist where the echoes cry. Spore clouds burst, let the rhythm lead. Bassline strong as the ancient creed. Echoes bounce off the cavern walls. Fungal dust like a meteor falls. Bamboo snaps where the spirits tread. Every beat wakes the voices dead. Call the tremors under your feet. Bass erupts like a lightning streak. Drums collide where the spores ignite. Dancing deep in the neon light. Kaboom,
kaboom, let the ground cave in. Thunder in the bass, let the rites begin. Feel the pulse through the myco stream. Echo shake through the fungal dream. Kaboom, kaboom, let the fire rise. Shadows twist where the echoes cry. Spore clouds burst, let the rhythm lead. Baseline strong as the ancient creed. Kaboom, kaboom, let the ground cave in. Thunder in the bass, let the rites begin. Feel the pulse through the myco stream. Echo shake through the fungal dream. Kaboom, kaboom, let the fire rise. Shadows twist where the echoes cry. Spore clouds burst, let the rhythm lead. Baseline strong as the ancient creed. Still hums with the pulse below, where mushrooms dance and mycelium grows. The fire dims, but the rhythm stays, lost in echoes of ancient ways.
Through the mist where the echoes call, feet on the ground, hear the spirits call. Fungal breath in the midnight air, drums in the dark, feel the spores beware.
Through the mist where the echoes call, feet on the ground, hear the spirits fall. Fungal breath in the midnight air, drums in the dark, feel the spores beware. Bonfire crackles, smoke twists high. Shapes in the embers, glowing sky. Bamboo taps on hollow skull. Wept of the jungle's ether flow. Shadows dance to the thunder song. Roots vibrate as the drums roll on. Moonlight bends where the echoes go. Feel the bass where the spores will flow. I hear the shaman call your name. Baseline breaks, never stays the same. Echo deep in the mountain walls. Mushrooms whisper when the thunder falls. Feel the roots grip tight and rise. Lightning strikes through ancient skies. Dance with the spirits, move with the sound. Bass shakes earth, feel it all around. Bass shakes earth, feel it all around. Step to the rhythm, feel the weight. Every stomp rewrites your fate. Drums crack sharp like breaking stone. Voices call in a tone unknown. Baseline low like the rivers flow. Fungi rise where the wild winds go. Close your eyes, hear the hum inside. Drums align where the ancestors guide. Hear the shaman call your name. Baseline breaks, never stays the same. Echo deep in the mountain walls. Mushrooms whisper when the thunder falls. Feel the bruise grip tight and rise. Lightning strikes through ancient skies. Dance with the spirits, move with the sound. Bass shakes earth, feel it all around. Hear the shaman call your name. Baseline breaks, never stays the same. Echo deep in the mountain walls. Mushrooms whisper when the thunder falls. The spores take flight in the embers glow. The bass still hums where the lost ones go. Night falls silent, the rhythm stays. Trapped in echoes of ancient days.
Feel the rhythm rise from the underground. Bass like thunder shake the sacred ground. Roots entwine, the spores ignite. Summon the echoes of eternal night. Drums of the deep, let the pulse ignite. Shadow spirits dancing in the neon light. Didgeridoo hums in the mushroom haze, summoning the spirits through the fungal maze. Spore and whisper through the hollow trees, echoes call from the cosmic seas. Tribal fire burns, let the embers rise, bass so heavy it electrifies. Boom, the earth shakes wide, fungal chants take us to the other side. Bass lines rumble, the spores take flight, lost in the echoes of a neon night. Boom, the roots go deep, chanting to the mycelium beat. Rhythm like lightning strike the sky, feel the energy, let it amplify. Soul. Feel the power, let it take control. Bass vibration, shake the soul. Moonlight cracks through the forest high. Bass so thick you can touch the sky. Boom, boom, the earth shakes wide. Fungal chants take us to the other side. Bass lines rumble, the spores take flight, lost in the echoes of a neon night. Boom, boom, the roots go deep, chanting to the mycelium beat. Rhythm like lightning strike the sky, feel the energy, let it amplify. The spores dissolve into the night, leaving echoes in the neon light. Drums still whisper, the fire still glows. The rhythm lives where the mycelium grows. Deep beneath where the mycelium weaves, old songs drift through the hollowed leaves. Thunder rolls where the spores take flight, drums ignite in the pulse of the night. Step by step through the glowing moss, footprints vanish, no path is lost. Torches flicker, carved stone walls, echoes rise as the night wind calls. Bassline shatters the ancient ground, didgeridoo hums in the sacred sound. Ghosts of the forest whisper through trees, rhythm like thunder, wild and free. Hear the roots shake deep below, feel the bass as the storm winds blow. Drums hit hard like a tidal wave, echoing loud in the mushroom caves. Tall shadows twist in the embers gleam, ancient voices ride the dream. Deep pulse rides on the earthen veins, rhythm awakens in primal chains. Crystal walls hum in a violet glow, mushroom towers bend and grow. Hands to the dirt, hear the voices hum, energy rising can't be undone. Flames twist high as the tempo speeds, didgeridoo screams in the jungle reeds. Bassline cracks like a cosmic tear, drums explode in electric air. Hear the roots shake deep below, feel the bass as the storm winds blow. Drums hit hard like a tidal wave, echoing loud in the mushroom caves. Shadows twist in the embers gleam,
Ancient voices ride the dream. Deep pulse rides on the earth and veins. Rhythm awakens in primal chains. Still echoes with the sound of fate. The rhythm lingers, never late. Through the spores, through the trees, baseline hums in the cosmic breeze.